Going on, everybody? Philly Insider here. Just Drew for now. I think Hunter's gonna hop in a little bit, but yeah. I mean, the Phillies they have a absolutely massive game ahead of them today. Really, no question about it. They got to win this one. And Christopher Sanchez, probably one of my favorite pitchers of the year for the Phillies. I mean, he has had quite the incredible story. He's been nothing short of a miracle in what he's done in the last year and a half for the Phils. So definitely really nice to see him getting a game 2 start in the playoffs, and it seems like compared to last year when he was kind of on a short leash, it's probably gonna be kind of the opposite this year. He's gonna have quite a long leash, and Ranger's gonna have the short leash, which is not something I really envisioned coming into the season, even though he was very good for us down the stretch last year. So, yeah, I mean, gotta win this one. Pretty simple. I mean, Luis Severino's really struggled on the road, and Christopher Sanchez has been really good at home, so this is pretty much an ideal situation that you wanna have the Mets in as far as where they pitch Severino, and yeah, I mean, the Phillies yesterday, they talked about the shadows being a problem, but, I mean, there's no excuses. I mean, the Mets won the game, so, and they obviously could see the ball, so the Phillies should be able to see the ball as well, and even if it's bad for the first few innings, you still gotta have competitive at bats, like, at the end of the game like the Mets did. And whenever the Phillies took Wheeler out of the game, that just seemed like the game just turned on a dime, and that was pretty much the end of it. Like, the relievers couldn't get anybody out, and that's not something we've seen all year from the Phillies, and it was just kind of, very disappointing to see Hoffman and Strahm just not do anything, and they've been pretty much our workhorse bullpen pieces all year, and yeah, it's just disappointing, but anyway, today, the Phillies took, Alec Bohm out of the lineup, and they put Edmundo Sosa in at third, so it's definitely a questionable move to a lot of people, but I kind of understand it because Bohm has been pretty terrible for the last half of the season, and obviously, he had a great first half, and he is one of the main reasons we were a 95 plus win team, whatever we won, 96, something like that. And he was obviously one of the biggest reasons for it. So, I mean, everybody's obviously very appreciative of him for what he did in the first half of the season, and I'm definitely no exception. I mean, he's very fun to watch when he's hitting the ball well, but it just hasn't been the same for him in the last 2 months, 3 months, and I think a lot of it had to do with the injuries he was dealing with. He had that nagging, I think it was like something with his leg, but, yeah, it's definitely a controversial move, and it's gonna, like, either make or break him, I think. I think it's probably gonna be either Sosa comes through with a huge hit or he just does nothing, and everybody's kinda mad about it from Rob Thompson's perspective, so it's definitely gonna be interesting. But I think Sosa, I mean, he proved himself this year. I mean, he literally carried this team whenever Trey Turner went down at the beginning of the season, so yeah, I don't know what to think of it right now, but I mean, I definitely am not upset about it at the moment, and I might be upset about it later if he comes up in some huge spots and doesn't come through for us. But he obviously plays just as good a defense as Alec Bohm does, maybe a little bit better at some spot, like, in some ways, and some worse. But overall, I think he's probably roughly the same third baseman Alec Bohm is because he's not as good at third base as he is at short. But I think that's just something you're willing to take the hit on as far as putting him in the lineup and getting him some at bats, important at bats, I should say, because obviously late in the game, if there's a big spot and it's like Rojas up, they're gonna pinch hit Bohm for him, no question about it. I mean, he's obviously still one of your best runners and scoring position hitters on the team, but he's just been struggling a lot lately, and maybe this benching will kind of ignite that fire in him, and I think that's kind of everybody's hope. Up, Calvin? Good to see you in here. You were in here way early. But yeah, personally love the move. Need Joseph Fire today. Yeah, I mean, he definitely is one of the guys on the team that can do that at times, and it's gonna be very, very interesting to see, definitely. Honestly, so anxious, I'm not sure I can watch. Yeah. Yeah, yesterday, I mean, I was anxious, but, like, when we had that 1-0 lead, I was not very, very confident, and it obviously, kinda came to fruition because the Mets, they've been credit to them. I mean, they've definitely been coming back in a lot of games against really good relievers, and yesterday was no exception. I mean, Jeff Hoffman was one of the best relievers in baseball this year, and he got out there against them, and he couldn't get anybody out somehow. But yeah, I mean, I'm very, very anxious as well. We're all gonna see, I guess. What's up, sir? How you feeling? I'm feeling, I guess I could say optimistic, but I mean, I really don't know. I mean, if you're not gonna hit the baseball, then you're not gonna win games. Just pretty simple. But yeah, I mean, overall, I guess I feel good because Severino's really struggled on the road, and this is definitely not an easy environment to pitch in. So I, if you're gonna get him in a bad spot, this is probably gonna be the bad spot to get him in. And the Phillies, I mean, there's no way yesterday didn't kind of like tick them off a little bit because they kind of just got embarrassed in front of all their fans, and they didn't hit the ball. They couldn't pitch in the last half of the game or last 2, 3 innings of the game, and yeah, I mean, that definitely probably left a bad taste in their mouth from last night. So hopefully they came in today a little bit more ready, and obviously another 4 o'clock start. So there's going to be shadows again, and I don't care to hear the excuses. I really don't. And there's just there's no excuse for it. You're way better than the Mets. So if you can't go out there and beat them, and you're going to make excuses about the shadows and stuff, I really just don't care to hear it. I don't. That's just my whole opinion on it. In my opinion, the sun was a terrible excuse. I don't expect that out of Casti. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He had uncompetitive at bats all day, basically. He had like I think he had one good at bat against Senga, maybe in the first inning or something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's no excuse. Like that was brutal. Like Trey Turner, he looks lost. I don't really know what he's looking for when he's going up there, but it's not. He has no plan. It doesn't look like, and neither does Castellanos. And Castellanos has said in the past he doesn't really go up there with a plan. So I I don't know. It's brutal whenever they're facing good right-handed pitchers because Trey Turner and Castellanos have been pretty bad against them recently. Every Mets hitter also said it. To be fair, Trey seemed unaware of the problem. Though, yeah, I mean, I just don't. Even if it is a problem, I don't care to hear it. I mean, you lost the game and you didn't hit the ball. You did not the entire game. The Phillies didn't do anything. There's Hunter. Hunter joining us.
What's up, guys?
We're just talking about the Sun being no excuse for losing the way they did yesterday.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I understand that the Mets did end up hitting once the shadows went down, and that is a part of it too. Like it definitely, to Anthony's point, like it was a problem for everyone too. But that's also part of it too. Is like I don't really, if Castellanos is going to make that point, like it's a problem for everyone, right? Like we're not the only ones dealing with it too. So regardless, I mean, they lost the game. You know, whether the whether the shadows were a true problem or not, no one cares now that we're down 1-0. So, and that's going to be another thing today. So, you're also in your home ballpark too. Again, I haven't tried to hit with the shadows, so I'm not trying to say it's easy. I'm sure it is a problem, but you're in your home ballpark and you need to have answers when stuff like that happens. And I'm not saying you have to have a perfect solution. You're going to have a tough time seeing the ball regardless, but you would think there would be some level of understanding of what that's going to look like when you have played in your home ballpark at 4 o'clock as well. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Regardless, like to me, that's not really the most important storyline from yesterday. It's just the offense just did not show up after outside of Schwarber, and hopefully today it's better. I did want to talk about the Bohm Sosa thing. I heard you talked about that a little bit already, but obviously that's a really big storyline going into 4 o'clock today. So, uh,
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, to Anthony's point, like you said, I mean the Mets hitters had the same problem too. So
yeah. And like you said, I mean, it looked like the Phillies had never been in that situation before in their own ballpark.
no,
Like they played plenty of 4 o'clock games in this ballpark throughout the year, and today or yesterday they did not look like they'd ever played in that ballpark at 4 o'clock, and it
no,
was it was pretty embarrassing. So I don't want to hear the excuses from them. I mean, they were in New York, and it was a totally different situation up there. Like the shadows were really bad and whatever. I might get it a little bit more, but you're at
sure,
home. Like you got to figure it out.
yep, no, 100%. And again, like the fact that they Rob then makes the move today to put Sosa in the lineup. I mean, that is a you guys need to wake up type of message. That's not. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't. I'm Bohm has been really bad, like you said, and I think that's part of it for sure. But I think it's also just the offense needed something after what happened yesterday, and the fact that we're doing this 2 games into the playoffs now. I mean, not a great sign of where we're at, unfortunately. But Sosa has been a spark plug for this team many a time before. I know I said the same thing about Cody Clemens in my video earlier today, but I am curious to see if he gets an opportunity at some point today too. If Rojas comes up with runners on base, but you couldn't start both of them, so I understand. I just didn't expect Sosa to be the guy with righty on righty, so we will see. Sosa, like you said, I mean, you said it best, true. He has been a guy who has really stepped up this year when Trey went down. Even righty too. Again, not super sustainable over the long run. He's going to have issues with when he plays 162 games, but there's a reason he's kind of put into these roles. And I would also think he's probably going to play the next couple games with, if they win today and they are afforded the next couple games, he'll probably play on Tuesday versus, I guess Minaya is probably going to go in that game. And then if Quintana goes on Wednesday, if they get to Wednesday, I would imagine he plays in that game too. So,
Yeah. It'd
yeah,
probably
I'm,
be at
I'm
second base in that situation, I would say.
correct. Correct. Yeah. And that is the one thing, like you said, slightly better defense than Bohm. He definitely has more range than Bohm. And he should, like, I think skill wise, he's probably a better third baseman, but sometimes Sosa does make errors over there, which concerns me a little bit. So I'm curious to see kind of how he fares over there and hopefully not too much action, but it's the playoffs. So you got to be perfect at third base defensively. Like no one is going to be happy if he makes an error over there. So, but I
Right.
think it's the right move. I mean, you needed something today. I get it, Bohm. You have to play your best guys, and you could argue you should have Bohm in there, but he hasn't been the same coming off the injury, hasn't been the same for some time now either, and it's just you needed something today, and maybe that's just me wanting to see something different, just to have some hope. But I don't know. I think putting Sosa in this lineup is definitely a move that's it's there's good big implications for how Rob is going to be perceived after this game for sure, but. Um, yeah, great. I mean, it's crazy that there were some people blaming Rob on Twitter after yesterday's game, but I'm not even going to continue. I talked about that after the game yesterday. I'm not even going to continue on that or pay any mind to that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's gonna have big implications on how people view Rob. Like, if Sosa comes out there and he hits 2 bombs or he has a bunch of hits, people are gonna love it, and
Yeah,
I wouldn't blame him, obviously, but I think I'm
yeah,
probably part of the crowd where, like, if he goes out there and does nothing, it'll probably be like, "What the heck are we doing here?" Like, you took one of your best players out, put this bench player in, and he did nothing for you. So,
yep, yep,
I it's gonna be either all or nothing pretty much, I think.
yeah. And ultimately, it comes down to if Trey and Castellanos are going to do anything too. Because
Yeah,
if they do not, especially Trey, if Trey is going to look like he did yesterday, it ultimately does not matter who's playing third base in this game. To be
yeah,
honest, like that,
yeah,
I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth. And Trey, like you said, looked completely lost. He has not been really doing anything the whole second half of this year. He's also not a good defensive shortstop, which that wasn't really an issue yesterday. But if you're not going to hit, and then we have an issue on defense, it's going to be really tough to win baseball games that way. And it's going to be tough when if Trey and Castellanos look like that, and then your two relievers look like that too. It's going to be tough to win any sort of game. So that's what it ultimately comes down to. Like the Bohm decision is obviously very controversial and it could pan out a number of ways. But end of the day, it comes down to the guys you're paying. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what to expect from Trey in the two hole at this point because it seems like they have a pretty clear plan on how they're going to pitch Trey and Harper. And I don't know. It just seemed like they weren't really prepared for that plan yesterday, and I'm a little disappointed in that. Not so much Harper. I mean, again, he worked two walks. Only his really rough at bat was unfortunately the one with two outs and Rojas on second, which again, just disgraceful that they get Rojas on, which started out as a terrible at bat, turns into a good at bat. He gets on to start the inning, and the top of the order's up, and they don't score him. That can't happen. I mean, that to me was the break. My mentally, that's what was really my breaking point yesterday because very few times does Rojas in that type of situation in a playoff situation do you expect him to get on to lead off an inning and you have that opportunity. Those opportunities are far and few in between. So that was kind of where the game, in my opinion, I felt like that's where things kind of shifted for me, even though I know they hadn't hit up to that point, but still, um, yeah, I don't know. That was frustrating to me.
yeah. I mean, it felt like whenever, Rojas went to steal second and Schwarber swung at that pitch out of the zone, that kinda, like, changed the entire, like, complexion of it because
Yep.
I'm pretty
Looked
sure
like he was
Schwarber got
pressing.
out. Yeah, he was like, "I have to swing at this, and,
Yeah.
nobody behind me is gonna do anything." So, that's
Yeah. That too.
kind of
Yep.
probably kinda the way Kyle felt yesterday, and I don't blame him because Trey Turner looks completely lost. He has no idea what he's doing. I mean, he has no plan. So, I I don't know. I hope it changes today, and I hope I'm wrong, but I do not feel good about the 2 and the 4 spot in the lineup right now.
No, I did not. And I knew like we all saw the lineups leading up to the postseason too, so you figured Cassidy was going to be at the 4 spot, but I still don't agree with it. That being said, I'm not saying there's a clear cut solution that fixes that problem. It's just it's scary when you have a guy who has the highs and lows that Castellanos does, that he's the guy who's the protection behind Bryce Harper. I can't say I'm a big fan of that. Again, I would probably have JT there. Maybe I mean Bohm's not even playing today, so he's obviously not going to be there. He hasn't really been productive lately. I'd probably prefer JT there, but I get it. I know JT hasn't. I mean, he's not really been playing well either. So like, you can make arguments for both guys, and you could sit here all day and say this guy should be in the 4 spot, like I'm doing right now. But ultimately, someone's got to step up at some point. And JT's also got a job to do as the 7 hitter at providing, or I guess today's the 6 hitter, providing depth at the bottom of the order as well. So I don't know. I mean, really, the only guys I have some confidence in are Schwarber, Harper, and Marsh. Again, I said this a bunch of times in yesterday's stream. He just missed that home run yesterday. I mean, again, if Marsh makes that 3-0 and that gets out, completely different ball game. And the bullpen has a little more cushion. They're probably in attack mode a little bit more too. So that's just unfortunate as well. I feel like Marsh. I'm not going to say Marsh. I'm going to sit here and say he's been like an incredible postseason player, but I feel like for the most part in his role, he's been fairly productive and he's done his job. So I have a level of confidence in him going into today. Obviously, lefty lefty is different, and that almost home run he hit was off of a lefty too. So that was honestly surprising he did that in that situation. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
thought that ball
I'm
was
curious to
gone.
see what happens. Yeah, me too. Me too.
I
I thought
thought
it
it was
was
gone.
absolutely getting out. Yeah. So I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I mean, it's interesting. And
it's
at least with thing with Stott too is like at least he's this maybe this is who he is the way he's playing right now. But at the very least, as far as playoff baseball goes, he's probably getting on base once in the game. What he did yesterday, he got that walk, and we couldn't score. That was when he was on with the Marsh flyout. But it's like it's frustrating, and long term, obviously, that's something we're gonna have to discuss Stott in the offseason. But right now, it's at least you're getting some competitive bats out of him. And again, that's what it comes down to in playoffs. Like, I don't want to go back to the whole Reese conversation and everything from the past couple of years. With obviously, it's been different without having him in the lineup and having a guy who did have the plate discipline he had when he was with us, and who guy who could have power but also could work walks too. It's been a big loss for them.
yeah. I mean, it seems like Stott has kind of been a black hole in the lineup at times this year. So,
Yeah.
like you
Hmm.
said, it's definitely going to be a conversation to be had in the offseason, what they're going to do. But I mean, I feel like he's pretty much unquestionably going to be the second baseman next year. But
Yeah.
obviously, things are subject to change. I mean,
Yeah.
it,
And
maybe some free
extension
agent, maybe some
extension
free agent will
definitely.
come and like make him feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah. An extension certainly is not a guarantee right now. So
No, definitely not.
yeah. Yeah. So
Same
yeah. I
for
mean,
Bohm. It seems like every day
yeah.
passing, the extension gets less and less likely,
Right.
especially
And
with the meteoric rise of Aiden Miller. I mean,
yeah. That too.
that
Yeah.
kid looks like he's special, so he's gonna be taking one of their spots eventually, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and it's tough because like you have Aiden Miller who obviously is a great prospect, but still unproven to this point. And then there's only so many options that are available every year in free agency too. So it's like those two guys are still like fairly solid players for the most part. I know Stott didn't have a great year this year. We'll see how things change as we go. Next year's a really big year for both of them to see what the future holds. But there's only so many options you get in free agency and via trade, and only so many. Yeah, there's only so many options you get to weigh, and that's again, we'll talk more about that in the off season for sure. But those two guys obviously are the daycare has not necessarily been great outside of Marsh has had some good moments. And no, I'm not saying Stott and Bohm haven't had their moments in the playoffs. They certainly have, but Bohm wasn't really productive the past two postseasons for the most part. It was a little bit disappointing in certain spots. And yeah, I'm not saying it's the fully correct move, but I do think you had to do something today, and I do like Sosa. I think Sosa's a fairly solid player. There's a number of teams he could start on, and I'm not saying good teams, but he absolutely has an opportunity today. I mean, there's only so many playoff starts you get, so I hope he comes in today and just realizes that he's got an opportunity to take advantage of, and just takes it and runs with it. Regardless of what happens beyond that. But today is your opportunity, and again, this is a must-win game, so this is a huge move for Rob, and yeah, we're either going to be singing his praises after the game, or we're probably going to be really upset with him. So, and there's
Yeah,
it's not impossible Bohm comes into this game. I mean, again, maybe like Anthony said, it's possible he's hurt. So there might be maybe there's something we don't know, but it's very possible he comes into a pinch hit situation and he's called up or called upon off the bench. So I don't want to see him upset or pouting or anything, because that's the thing is he really does get upset at himself and he wears his heart on his sleeve, but that's a detriment sometimes too. You got to rein it in and just think, all right, next at bat, next inning in the field, I got to focus on that now, right? Like you cannot live in the past and get that upset about striking out every single time because with him it seems like every single time he doesn't come through, he's just so hard on himself, and you just can't do that. So as far as Bohm goes, like again, be ready to come off the bench today too. You got to have the right mentality in that spot, and you still have a role to play too. And you can still have a role to play in just being mentally invested in the game and taking note of how a pitcher's throwing or certain things like that. You're not up to bat, so it's a little harder to do that, but you still got to be a teammate off the bench too. So I'm hoping he's ready to go today because you never know if Rojas isn't hitting. They could go to Clemens in that spot, or they could go to Bohm in that spot. I mean, and then they'll figure things out from there defensively. But you got to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely have to be ready because they didn't look like they were ready yesterday. And I mean, I hope Sosa kind of sparks that in everybody. Like, if he goes up there and has a big hit in the first or second inning, whatever it may be, I think that could definitely ignite some guys. And I really hope that's the case. But, you
Mm,
know, only time will tell.
yeah. Question for you. So let me pitch you a situation. It is the bottom of the third inning. We have 1 through 6 have gone down in order, like probably 4 or 5 strikeouts. It's been the same story as yesterday. It's currently 0-0. Sanchez is pitching well. And Marsh and Sosa both get on to start the inning. You have first and second with no outs. Do you trust Rojas to bunt them over or to do his job in that situation, or would you move the pinch hit that early on?
Nah, I'm bunting. I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not
Would
gonna
you?
bench Bohm and then put him in the third inning.
Yeah. Or
Or
how about Clemens
second.
in that spot? Do you trust him to
Yeah,
maybe come in and
I,
get a bunt down?
I think if you're gonna do that, I would just let Rojas do it. If you
Okay.
really are desperate and you think you're not gonna score any runs, then I guess you could pinch hit Bohm, but I'd rather just pinch hit Clemens at that point with the way Bohm's
Yeah.
looked.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wasn't saying Bohm in that spot, but just like
Okay,
generally, like because obviously Rojas can be really hit or miss, no pun intended, with the bunts. I mean,
right.
there's a real chance he goes down and he goes up there and does not get the bunt down. But also, you have him out there for his defense, which is really special. I know Sanchez is more of a ground ball pitcher, but do you then pinch hit Cody Clemens and just move Marsh to center and him to left the rest of the game? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've been thinking about that situation a lot. Hopefully, we don't run into that spot. But I just think about last year. I think it was the third or fourth inning. It was early on when Rojas was up in Game 7, and a lot of people were saying Jay Cave should have pinched in that spot. Which I said this yesterday. I have a lot more confidence in Cody Clemens potentially coming through in that type of situation rather than Jay Cave. So that's why it maybe is a conversation. But I think they probably keep Rojas in there because you still, at worst, you still have first and second, one out, and the top of the order due up. And you still trust Schwarber with that opportunity. So I don't think they moved the pinch hit that early, but it certainly, if they did decide to do that, I certainly wouldn't be mad at it either. So I don't know. That was just an interesting hypothetical I wanted to pose to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you did pinch hit in that situation, it just kind of sends a signal to your team that you're pressing, and
Yeah.
you don't really trust them to come through later in the game. So
Hmm.
I don't know. It's definitely a two-sided coin. Like you could
Yeah.
really
No, it
come through.
is.
You could come through, and you could have a huge inning off of it if the pinch hit works out. But it's tough to come off the bench and pinch hit like in any situation, let alone
Hmm.
with the shadows the way they're going to be. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's tough.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. And like Calvin said, it's been tough when Bohm is hitting well behind Harper. Things have been very very good for this team, obviously, and that's not breaking news. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. But like you said, I mean, it's tough to see Harper getting pitched to with the way Castellanos is swinging the bat in the playoffs lately. So.
Yeah.
Ever since Dan LCS started last year, unfortunately, yeah, yeah. Talking, I believe he's referencing the third inning situation last year with Rojas. So it'll be very curious to see how Rob approaches this series and what he does this postseason. I'm curious to see what happens, and because there's going to be situations that present themselves, and I'm curious to see which ones come up today. So I don't know,
Yeah, I
and
mean, it it seems like based on what he's doing with the lineup that he's gonna be aggressive, so maybe you're
yes,
onto something there as far as that 3rd inning would go, so,
we will, we will see. But again, hopefully
yeah,
we're not in that situation. Hopefully the hopefully the top five just get something going early, and
yeah,
even if they don't score runs, let's just hope there's some sort of like some level of productivity early on that they don't have to do that. But um,
yeah.
I'm very excited. I know you talked about Chris Sanchez earlier, but very excited to see him. This is the big one for him. I mean, last year he only went a little over 2 innings in that playoff start. Forgot how many outs there were. We know the whole story at this point. We've said it 1,000 times, but this is a big start for him. This kind of feels more like his first postseason start, and he's coming off of now, like you said, a year and a half, 2 years ish of really good baseball. Just really, really just looks like a work of art when he's on the mound right now. And I think he's definitely going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I said yesterday, the only real concern I have with him is just fielding his position today because the Mets will play a little bit of small ball, I'm sure, if they get in certain situations where they have the opportunity to do so. So just being smart, knowing when to just eat it if it's going to be a tough throw, and knowing when you need to go get the out too. And yeah, that's real. If my only concern is him fielding his position, I feel pretty good about that because that means he's going to pitch, most likely pitch a really good game. He has the home crowd behind him. Like you said, Severino has not pitched well on the road. He's settled in after the first few innings in Milwaukee, but they jumped on him early there. There are going to be opportunities today, and I think as far as the pitching matchup goes, I definitely feel like we have a little bit of an edge. So Sanchez, I think he has what it takes to go pitch the Phillies to a win today and even up the series and get them right back in it.
Yeah, I mean, I look for him to have a massive game today. I just feel like he's turning into one of those big game pitchers like Wheeler and Nola have become, and like Ranger was in the postseason for us the last couple years. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I have an immense amount of confidence in him, and I think that's well earned for him this year because he was pretty great at, like, various points throughout the year, and he obviously had a little bit of struggles at the beginning of the season, but he overcame them pretty quickly and pretty much solidified his spot, and he's earned enough trust to start game 2 of a divisional series for Rob Thompson, so I think that says a lot because obviously with the way Rangers been pitching, we kinda needed a guy like that, and he's kinda became that guy, so I'm definitely very happy for him, and I look forward to him coming out there throwing 98 in the first inning.
Definitely. It's really cool that it's cool that he started the year as a guy who was, 92 on the sinker, and now he's been averaging like 94, 95. That's
Yeah,
special. I mean, I don't that doesn't happen too often where you have a guy where Sanchez was obviously, but then to see the velo increase and just see the way he's just developed into a really tremendous pitcher and with good command at that velocity too still, and really good feel for just a plus changeup, man. I mean, that is just an incredible pitch. And again, his slider has gotten better, I think, this year, but he has the tools to go out there and have a good game today and to get the Phillies even in this series. It's just I think he will pitch a good game. He needs run support though, because if he goes out there and pitches a good first couple innings and he sees that it's 0-0, man, I mean, that's just a tough spot to be in. You just hate to just put that on your pitcher and to have them feel that way going into the back end of that game. So get him some run support early, give him some cushion to work with too, and I'll feel a lot better about the rest of the game. But yeah, that's really, I mean, that's the story right now. The series is it's only one game, but it's they're gonna have to figure it out from an offensive perspective if they're gonna win this game and if they're gonna get back into the series. So yeah, make or break, do or die. This is a must-win game. If you lose this game, series is essentially over. You're not going up to City Field and winning 2 games and sending it back to 5, in my opinion. Maybe you grab one, but you lose this game, your season is essentially over. So
yeah,
you have to, in my opinion, you have to win the next 2, but we will get to Tuesday when we get there. I mean, you got to win today. So that's really my thoughts on today, Drew.
yeah. I mean, there's really not too much else to say. They got to go out there and they got to hit. You're not gonna win any game scoring 1 run. I can guarantee you that. So
Yep.
it's just got to hit. That's really just the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and your bullpen is still relatively fresh too. I mean, your 2 best
Yes.
guys did pitch yesterday, but you still have Estevez available. You still have Alvarado available. You still have Kirkering didn't pitch. I don't think too much yesterday, if I'm not
No.
mistaken, as far as pitch
Yeah.
count goes.
Did he pitch at all yesterday? I don't remember. I
He
left
came in right
like.
after. Yeah, he came in right after Strom. So
Oh, that's right.
um,
That's right.
he did get 2 outs, and even Strom and Hoffman. I think Strom threw 17 pitches. I'm not sure how many Hoffman threw, but some of those guys will be available. You still have the bullpen pieces necessary to go win the game today. It's just a matter of if they will come through or not. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. Now it's just wait and see, and we're starting the game up here in about 10 minutes. So yeah,
Yep. I mean, the series going 5 games. Our boys will get it done and move on to the next round. I mean, if that happens, I'll feel a lot better going into the next round than I did coming into this round because
yeah,
they're gonna
hmm
have some momentum for sure. So it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see. I think the Dodgers won last night, right? So
correct.
looking good for them this series. And
Yeah,
I think I would rather face the Dodgers than the Padres anyway, to be honest with you. But We'll see.
Yeah. If we get through this round, I really don't like whoever we're playing. At that point, I'm going to be feeling very good.
Yeah.
I'm not super confident in us getting past this round at the moment. So we will see.
Yep.
Oh, I
Yep.
think I
I
lost me
agree.
for a second there, but yeah, we
Yeah,
will
you're all
see.
good. Yeah, I mean, I think that'll pretty much do it for us guys. It's four
Yep.
o'clock, so the game's gonna be starting up here in like 10 minutes. So
Yep.
everybody go enjoy it. I mean, hopefully enjoy it. Hopefully the Phils come through for us today, and hopefully they play better today than they did yesterday. And hopefully they can get some runs on the board early for Christopher Sanchez.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, everybody have a great day. We'll see you after the game. We'll be live probably pretty soon after the game, I think. So everybody enjoy. Talk to you later.
All right. We'll see you guys. Peace.
Peace.